Maybe some of you ever had a blue screen of death problem on the Nintendo Switch, like this one, and you have no idea how to fix it other than throwing it away. In this video, I will show you how to resurrect a dead console by rebuilding the NAND. So, let's get started. The most important thing is to make sure that you have an unpatched console, or we can say it a hackable Nintendo Switch. You cannot follow this guide if you have a patched console, including the Nintendo Switch Lite, at least for now. Prepare at least a 32GB microSD card for backing up the console's NAND. You also need a USB Type-C cable to transfer some data between the console and the computer. And you need an RCM jig to get into the RCM mode or the recovery mode on your console. Download a universal firmware file for the Nintendo Switch, which is on firmware 5.10. Download the latest version of Hecate. You might see a newer version than the one in this video. Then download the latest version of Tegra RCM GUI. Download Balena Etcher for writing the image file to the console. Download the latest version of Hack Dismount. Download either WinRAR or Z1zip to extract the downloaded archive. Prepare a microSD card. It doesn't matter if you have some content inside it, as long as you have at least 32GB space left. In this video, I assume that this card is new. Check the microSD card file system, make sure that it is formatted as exFAT. Double-click the Hecate archive and extract the bootloader folder into the microSD card. Then extract the Hecate payload into the desktop. We will need it later. Let's install Tegra RCM GUI. Follow the on-screen instruction. Now install Balena Etcher. Follow the on-screen instruction. It will automatically load the app after installing, but close it for now. The next thing to do is to extract the universal firmware and the Hack Dismount archive. Now run Tegra RCM GUI. Back to your console. Press and hold the power button to turn it off. Insert the microSD card into the console. Remove the right Joy-Con and install the RCM jig. Press and hold the volume up button, then press the power button. Get the USB cable and connect the console to the computer. When this is your first time connecting the console to the computer while in RCM mode, then you will see a new device notification. Then we need to install its driver. Open the Settings tab on the Tegra RCM GUI, then press Install Driver. When you did it correctly, then the RCM status should turn green. Open the Payload tab, press the folder icon, then select the extracted Hecate payload. And press Inject Payload. The RCM status should have a checkmark, and it means you have successfully injected the payload into the console. And you will see the Hecate menu on your console screen. So, even your console is brick, you should be able to boot into the screen. If it doesn't, then maybe your console is not hackable or there might be something else. You can remove the USB cable for now. Even if your console is not working, we need to backup the console's NAND for safety purpose. Select Tools. Select Backup eMMC. Select eMMC boot 0 and boot 1. Press Close. Select eMMC raw GPP. Please wait a while since it will take some time to finish. Press Close. And press Close again. Press Archive Bit. And enable the Auto RCM. This step is required to substitute the RCM jig because we need to work under RCM mode all the time. So using the RCM jig is not practical and not comfortable. Now press the Home button and turn off the console. Since we have enabled the Auto RCM, you can remove the RCM jig and reinstall the right Joy-Con if you want to. Reconnect the console to the computer using the USB cable. Back to SciresM GUI. Now select the Tools tab. And select Mount Boot 0. Then press the mem loader icon. You will see a glimpse of text on your console screen, then you will see a black screen afterwards. When you see this pop-up window, do not press the Format This button, or else your console will break. Minimize the SciresM GUI. Now open Balena Etcher. Press Select Image. Enter the 510 firmware folder and select the boot 0 file. Ignore the notification window by pressing Continue. Press Select Target. Make sure you see the Linux UMS D0 which has 4.19 MB in size. Click the arrow icon, then press Continue. Then press Flash. And wait a while. Then press Flash another. Minimize the Balena Etcher and get back to SciresM GUI. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Now select eMMC boot 1, then press the mem loader icon. Again, you will see a glimpse of text on your console screen, then you will see a black screen afterwards. Again, press Cancel. Do not press the Format This button. Minimize the SciresM GUI and get back to Balena Etcher. Change or reselect the source binary file. This time, choose boot 1. Ignore the pop-up window by pressing Continue. Select Target and choose the same Linux UMS D0. Then press Flash. We are done with the Balena Etcher, so we can close the app. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Now select Biscuit Dump. You will see a glimpse of text and QR code on your console screen, and you will see the same black screen afterwards. And save the file to the desktop. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. This time, choose eMMC raw NAND and press the mem loader icon. Again, you will see a glimpse of text on your console screen, and you will see a black screen afterwards. Minimize the SciresM GUI for now. Open the Hack This Mount folder. Right-click the app and run it as an administrator. Press File and select Open Physical Drive. Select Linux UMS Disk 0. Double-click the BCPKG21 normal main. We will replace the existing partition, so let's focus on the restoring section. Press Browse and select the corresponding file inside the 510 firmware folder. For the first file, make sure you choose BCPKG21 normal main. Then press the Start button to flash it. Close the BCPKG21 normal main window. Double-click the BCPKG22 normal subpartition and do the same process as before. Now do the same for BCPKG23 safe mode main. And finally, do the same thing for BCPKG24 safe mode subpartition. Double-click the BSKeys text file. Double-click prot.info. Copy-paste the crypto0 and its tweak value from the text file. Press the test button and make sure you see the OK entropy status. Then press Save. Then close the prot.info window. Open the prot.info partition and you will see the keys are inputted automatically. You can test it and make sure it is OK and save it. Open the save partition and input the required keys. Test it and save it. And do the same for system partition. And finally, do the same thing for user partition. Double-click the save partition. Look at the virtual drive section. Press the install button if you haven't installed the driver previously. Select any free drive letter to mount the partition. I chose drive X. Enable pass-through zeros. Then press Mount. Open the mounted drive. Select View tab and show hidden items. If you see any files or folders inside the save partition, you should clear them out before continuing with this guide. Open the firmware folder. Navigate to the save folder. If you see any files or folders inside the save folder of the universal firmware, you should copy it all to the save partition of the console. Close and unmount the drive if there is nothing to copy. Double-click the system partition. Select a free drive letter, enable pass-through zeros, and mount it. Now open the mounted drive. Navigate to the system folder inside the firmware folder. Delete the contents folder which is inside the system partition of the console. If you see a file named prf2save.rcv, then delete it. Then copy everything inside the system folder of the firmware folder to the system partition of the console. Replace any existing content. You may now close the window and unmount the drive. Double-click the user partition. As usual, select a free drive, enable pass-through zeros, and mount it. Open the mounted drive. Open the user folder of the firmware folder. Then copy everything to the user partition of the console. Close the window and unmount the drive. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Now select MMC SD card and press the mem loader icon. And you will see the microSD card content without the need to remove it from the console. Reopen the firmware folder. Enter the microSD folder. Copy the keep1 file to the root of the console's microSD card. Open the bootloader folder. Rename the Hecate.ini file to any name you like. Then drag the Hecate.ini file from the firmware folder to the bootloader folder of the console's microSD card. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Make sure you have selected the new Hecate payload, then press Inject Payload. Then press Launch. Select the right icon. If everything worked well, you can boot the console normally. But if you fail to boot it, then watch the troubleshooting guide at minute 23 and 26 seconds. Let's check the firmware version. Currently, it is on firmware 5.10. Since you got the console working again, then there are two ways to end this guide. The first one to update the console normally using the internet, and the second one is to run custom firmware and update the console offline using NX. Updating the console online is the easiest method, but I guarantee your console could get banned. It is because we generated the firmware from scratch and Nintendo could detect the changes and ban your console instantly. But since I assume that we lost the original console NAND, then I have nothing to lose. The most important thing is, I got my console back from the dead. Select System Update. Update the console when you are ready. If you cannot update the console online, then do the second method. And now the console is on the latest firmware. When you choose this option, then you have completed the guide to revive a brick console. The second option is for those who don't want to get the console banned even you don't have the original console NAND, or you want to update the console to a specific firmware version or other reason. Let's turn off the console for now. My favorite custom firmware is AtlasNX Cosmos, but since they haven't released an update for the latest console firmware, then in the last part of this video, I will use Atmosphere. So go ahead to their GitHub page and download the latest version along with its payload. Download the latest version of NX. Then download the target firmware version of your choice. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Back to Tegra RCM GUI, open the Tools tab and remount the SD card. Again, you will see a glimpse of text on your console screen, and you will see a black screen afterwards. Open the Atmosphere archive and drag all its content into the console's microSD card. Then open the NX archive and extract the NRO file into the switch folder. And open the target firmware archive and drag the folder inside it into the console's microSD card. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Now you need to select the Atmosphere payload file, which is the fusee_primary.bin. And press inject payload. When everything is okay, then you will see the Atmosphere logo and it will boot into the home screen. Now open the album. Select NX. Choose the target firmware folder. Then press the Choose button. Choose fait. Then press Select Firmware. And press Start Installation. Then press Reboot. Press Reboot now. You can go to the system settings and find out the firmware version. It is now on the latest firmware. If you cannot boot the console after rebuilding the NAND, then there are 3 possibilities. 1. There might be data conflicts between firmware version. 2. Your console doesn't have the original NAND or mismatched prod.info partition. Or 3. Your console might have hardware problems. Please note that we can only save the console if there were data conflicts. But the drawback is, we will lose all the saved data from the console. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Select eMMC raw NAND. Then press the mem loader icon. Rerun hack this mount as an administrator. Open physical drive. Choose Linux UMS disk 0. Double-click the system partition. Select a free drive letter. Enable pass-through zeros. And mount it. Open the mounted drive and open the firmware folder. Navigate to the system folder inside the firmware folder. Now you will need to delete all the files and folders inside the console's system partition. By doing this, you will lose all data inside the console. Then copy the content from the system folder to the system partition. Back to hack this mount, unmount the drive. Press and hold the power button for about 5 seconds, then press the power button again to get into the RCM mode. Open the payload tab, then send the Hecate payload into the console. Press launch. Select the icon on the right. When everything is okay, then you will see the initial setup screen. If you don't see it, then I guess there is nothing you can do at the moment. So go ahead, finish the initial setup. Then you can continue just like the previous step. Either update the console online or update offline using Choi NX. And you have completed the guide to unbrick a Nintendo Switch. I hope I didn't miss a thing. Thanks for watching and see you around.